Hello and welcome to my channel SVM Fit Fuel Flow. I am your host Suzanne. Hope you are having an amazing Sunday. Spring has officially arrived. Lots of rain, cloudy weather, still a little cool, but better days are coming and warmer days are coming. So we did reinventing versus midlife crisis. That was part 1. We have part 2 and 3 that I'm going to combine today. But before we get into that, let's talk about our last week of March challenge. Your challenge for this week is everything that we did the last 3 weeks. So eliminating the processed food, making sure your snack cabinet is healthy, drinking plenty of water, lots of movement, 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep, and meal prep. So we did 3 days of meal prepping, and maybe it was easy for you, maybe it was not. So how about we take the same 3 days, and if 3 days was good and you want to increase it, let's do that. So that is your challenge for the month, the last week in March. Okay. Let's not waste any time. Let's get right into part 2 and part 3 of reinvention and midlife crisis. So part 2, and by the way, I do have my laptop here because I've got points. I want to talk. I don't want to move off topic. So let's start rolling this. Part 2 is midlife reinvention. Why starting over is powerful. Okay. So let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about the part 3 aspect of it, which I'm going to include in the same video. So midlife reinvention and why starting over is powerful, we need to ask ourselves a couple of questions, right? What if starting over isn't failure, right? You're at your greatest advantage at this point. When you hit that midlife point, you're at your greatest advantage. And why do I say that? Well, because midlife crisis is not an ending. It's not the end of something. It's the beginning of something intentional. Remember, we spoke about crisis being running away from, and reinvention is clarity moving towards, right? So let's keep those 2 key things in mind and how we're going to flip the script here, okay? So what if everything you've lived through has actually been preparing you for this specific moment of your pivot point, your change? You are at your greatest advantage. And let's get into that. Why are we in our greatest advantage at this point, right? The reason we're at that is because we are now looking inwards, right? If we feel like things are falling apart and things are just not making sense, chances are you need to change. Maybe you need more of something. Something is like lacking, and you're trying to find what that lack is and move with clarity and purpose to that point. So it could be more health, more purpose, more meaning, more alignment to where you want to go, what you want to do, what you're looking for. So instead of ignoring it, listen to it. Listen to that voice, right? That alone is powerful because you're stopping yourself and you're listening, which is huge. Most people ignore that nagging thing that's happening in your brain, that feeling, that sensation, just like, let it go. I don't care. Let it go. And you keep moving forward, but you're not enjoying that movement, right? You have to understand, starting over in your 20s, you're guessing. You're just fresh out of high school, you've gone into university, you don't know what's out there. Whatever you've learned from your teachers and what you've read in books, that's all you know. You're not truly experiencing any of what life has in store for you. But if you're starting over now, in this midlife moment from your 40s to your 60s, You're starting with strategy. Because now you know what drains you, what doesn't fulfill you, what is not working for you, what you're not going to tolerate at all. Because now you're not starting from scratch, you're starting with experience, with wisdom. So you see how that changes it. So it's not really a crisis. It's your mind, your body, your soul telling you you need to pivot, right? So it makes you more self-aware. Because now you're thinking more clearly, because you've spent decades chasing something or doing something or keep the lights on for something because you had to. You didn't do it for you. You did it maybe for your kids. You did it to impress others. You did it to live a lifestyle for someone else, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, and you didn't have to. So you're no longer trying. When you realize and you become self-aware, and you get that clarity, it's reinvention. Again, keep those two words in mind, right? Reinvention is purposeful with clarity, and crisis is running away from something, and like it's fight flight mode. Like you just don't want to be there. You're running away from it because it's nostalgic, it's whatever, right? So when you're self-aware, you're no longer trying to impress anyone, fit into roles that you don't deserve or that don't even serve you, right? You're not doing it for the sake of doing it. Now you're doing things for you, or living someone else's version of success, which is key, which I want you to really think about. Not living someone else's version of success. You are doing something specific because it looks successful to them. You need their validation. Now you get a chance to define what success looks for you and on your terms. So be very mindful about success. Oh my God, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Success means and looks different for everyone. Everyone's purpose is different. So keep that in mind when you're looking at gauging your success, engaging with change, with purpose, with movement. It has to align with you. It always comes back to you, not anyone else. It shouldn't, anyone else, it just should not matter. And then you realize that you're just done waiting. And when you realize, okay, you know what? It's time for me to move on. I'm moving. I'm gonna make this change because I need to. My purpose, my sole purpose is this. This is what it's going to give me. I'm in alignment to this. At that point, you realize, and think about it, right? This is when your biggest shift happens. When you're at that point, you realize, time is not a luxury. You realize you don't know when time will be taken away from you. We are all born into this world, and we are born with a manufacturing date. We all know our birthdays. We have our manufacturing date. We just don't have an expiration date attached to us. So we have to decide to live our lives in alignment, and it should be purposeful for us. Nothing wrong with shifting or reinventing. And when you put an intention to what you want, it makes more sense. It's more purposeful. It's not pressure at that point, because you're not trying to that success factor is not coming in for someone else. It's coming for you. It could be this small or it could be this big. Success comes in all ways, shapes, forms, and it has to matter to you. No one else but you. And it's powerful, right? There's no pressure. It's just powerful. So let's talk about starting over. Most people are like, oh my God, I got to start over. This is scary. It's the unknown. We don't know. But remember, like I said earlier, we're starting with wisdom. We're starting with experience. And it's okay, because what we were doing is just not working for us right now. Okay, we're good to leave it behind. We're good to make some changes. We're good to look at that different version of ourselves. We are meant to evolve. And it does feel scary in the beginning, especially if you're doing this impulse, like you're just moving and you're doing things. You don't know where you're going. There's no plan. There's no, you're feeling lost. You're not sure if this is the way you're supposed to move or do something. So think about it. Make a clear, conscious decision and say, and maybe take baby steps, like little steps towards it. That, and then you're moving towards where you're meant to be and who you're meant to be. And that version of you is going to look stronger and it's going to be clearer. And as you get started, you start seeing a vision, you start seeing where you're moving to, and see if that resonates with you. If you're in that portion of the reinvention versus crisis mode, are you really in the reinventing aspect, or you're still sitting in that crisis mode? And if you are, pivot, change the narrative, because you shouldn't be in crisis. And ask yourself, so put it in the comments, let me know, what are you ready to start over? That is a key question when you're looking for reinvention. Ask yourself, what are you looking for? What do you want to start over? Because it shouldn't look like crisis. If you're stuck with something, or you feel like, this I've been doing since I was 17, let's say, or 20. I don't even know why I'm doing it. There's no purpose. Well, then sit down, ask yourself, make those changes accordingly. And now let's talk about part 3 of all of this, is why midlife reinvention is not a crisis. So I told you, remember those keywords. So now let's kind of dive a little deeper to see how we can flip the script, right? How we can say, okay, well, we're not having midlife crisis. And again, this is something you don't have to justify to people. It is you understanding where you are in your path, in your life, okay? So let's just clear this up. I think you need to replace the word crisis with a different word, right? To make it resonate with you. You're not having a midlife crisis. You're having a midlife awakening. You have woken up and you have realized what you're doing is not serving you. That's it. For years, society has told us different, right? Midlife looks like confusion, impulsiveness, things are falling apart, but sometimes things have to fall apart in order for the right things to fall in place. And that's your reinvention. But if you stay in this impulsive, nostalgic, fight-flight mode, you are in crisis. That is the definition of it. So you need to look at that and flip that script. And start looking at things and feeling things with clarity, with purpose. And think about it, when people think about midlife and reinvention, so we're going to take away the word crisis, right? When we come to that midlife awakening, for the first time, you're thinking about you. You're not thinking about anyone else. You're only thinking about you. When you think about crisis, crisis sounds like something is broken, which is what it is. If you stay in that stuck form without flipping the script, it's something that's broken. And no matter how many times you try to fix it, it's going to keep breaking because you're still doing the same thing that doesn't work for you. And then you start questioning your life. But you're not bringing in awareness. You're shutting the awareness out. And that's going to constantly look like a crisis. So now when you come to that realization that I'm not broken, nothing's broken, I am evolving, I am not the same person I used to be, I am now doing things for me, some of the questions you ask is, whatever it is you're doing, is it aligned to me, who I am now? Because who you were in your 20s, you're not the same person in your 40s or 50s. You are a very different person. And then you have to ask yourself when it comes to reinvention, How do I want to live for the next 10, 20? Like, you give yourself, like, you don't know how long you have to live, but you have to say, what is going to be fulfilling for me from now, for the next 20 years, for the next 30 years, whenever it is, or whatever number or range you give yourself, right? And don't look at it as if things are broken or they're breaking. Look at it as growth, because life has taught you and brought you to this point where you're now making those decisions, right? You're actually letting go of old identities. And why I say old identities is because you've spent years being the caregiver, the professional, the holding everything together, being there for the parents and for the grandparents and for your children and for your partners. And you will still be, like, when you have kids, like, your kids can have kids, you can be grandparents, but that responsibility is always in your life. That never goes away, right? You will always be responsible for your kids, even though they are adults, okay, married with their own kids. We are there to share our wisdom, knowledge, and help them as and when we can. That is something that stays with us for the rest of our lives. Maybe it resonates with some, maybe it doesn't, but for most part, for most people, that is the way to go. And those are just responsibilities that stay. But you don't have to take them for dance class, take them for music, pick and drop stuff. You may occasionally be helping out by taking care of your grandkids, or, you know, helping an elderly parent out, and that's okay, because that's what we're there for. Like, I mean, they took care of us and now we're taking care of them, but we're not losing our identity. We're not doing this to please others. We're not doing this for validation. We're not doing this to tell people how good we are. Oh my God, I'm helping X, Y, and Z out, or I'm helping my parents, or I'm helping my sister or my children. No, you're doing it for you, first and foremost, because that is your responsibility. But you're not forgetting that you are also growing as an individual. So you are letting go of old identities and you're finding this new version of yourself. Ask yourself, who am I? Outside of all of the caregiving, out of all of the thing, because those are responsibilities that some have for life, some have till they no longer have it. But ask yourself, who am I outside all of this? Don't lose yourself. Maybe you enjoy sports. Well, you're still fulfilling your obligations and being in these people's lives and helping and supporting, but you still do the sports that you enjoy doing. You still go on that vacation because you enjoy doing that, while you're still maintaining the responsibilities that you have. That's meeting yourself for the first time, because you're like, I'm going to do this. This is how I'm going to budget, or this is how I'm going to do something, or this is how I'm going to reinvent myself, because I've been missing this in my life and I really want to go back to it. Maybe you enjoyed writing. You want to go back to writing your book or your novel, and you've just not had time because you were raising kids and taking care of parents and now your grandkids. But as they've gotten older, as those responsibilities have dropped, as you have understood and found yourself and your own purpose, you now have clarity in what it is that truly brings you joy and what is it that you want to do. So then you get into that, and remember, that is powerful, because now you're meeting yourself for the first time after many years. And sometimes when you do that, you might have a very balanced life, but you want more. You feel like you want more, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're ungrateful. That means you just want to evolve. You want more of something. And everyone has a right to want more. Kids test our patience all the time and their boundaries. They want more ice cream and more chocolate, more playtime. If you don't ask, you don't get. And they feel like they keep pushing that envelope, they keep pushing that boundary. So it's okay for you to want more out of life. Maybe you want a stronger body, you want a calmer mind, you want a more fulfilling life, something more aligned to your purpose, something more for a retirement, for example. You're allowed to grow beyond your past. Just because your past has you here doesn't mean you can't exceed that to go further. there's nothing wrong with that. You need to look at things from a little different light. And like I said earlier, let's try and redefine the narrative. So replace the phrase midlife crisis. So midlife, that's fine. You're midway through your life, right? With all the experiences, with all that life has taught you, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the likes, the do not likes. You're now at that point where you found yourself, or finding yourself, but with clarity and purpose, right? So let's change that crisis to midlife clarity, expansion, evolution, midlife reinvention. It could be awakening, right? Because that's what it really is. It's you now becoming self-aware, knowing that you've outgrown things, you're shedding things that no longer fit you. They no longer work for you. And you want to know what's coming next. You want to anticipate this new chapter, this new phase in your life. You want to be more aligned to maybe your retirement plans, maybe goals that you have for your grandkids, or you for your fitness, or your healthy habits, whatever it is. You're now becoming more aligned, more powerful, more purposeful. You're becoming more you than you were before. Remember, when you're younger and you start life, it's all about the validation and the pleasing. It's the boyfriends, it's the teachers, it's the parents, it's the grandparents, it's girlfriends, it's whatever. It's just you keep doing things for others. Then you do things to keep the lights on. You do it for your kids. Then you do it for your grandkids. And at some point you stop and you're like, wait, I want to do something for me. And maybe what you're doing is well balanced and you enjoy it, but you want a little bit more, like we spoke about. That doesn't mean you're ungrateful. You're grateful for everything you have. You're just looking for a little bit more. So, something that you can tell yourself when you start feeling like maybe you're being selfish, maybe you're being mean. Again, that doesn't mean running from your responsibilities. That doesn't mean you're running away from something. You are maintaining what you have to do, but you're reinventing yourself without causing disruption to something that has to still be done, right? So tell yourself, I am evolving and it is okay. You may not be able to get all of it. You may not be able to go buy this retirement place wherever you want, or go live on a beach, or do a world tour of sorts. Well, you got to plan that. You got to see if it's purposeful. Does it mean anything to you? Is that something you want? Or is it something specific you want because that is more aligned to you? Like, it gives you that joy. It has to also have joy and meaning. If it doesn't have that, then that means that's not where you need to go. And that's why reinvention comes with clarity, purpose, alignment, not just financially or otherwise. It's a mental, emotional, physical change and experience. And it's okay, because that in the end is all growth. So I would love to hear your feedback on this specific topic. We will think of what topic we want to talk about next week. So feel free to drop in the comments anything in specific you want me to talk about as our next video comes up next Sunday. But with that and that thought about I am evolving and what is my purpose, I am going to leave you like I do every Sunday. Make it amazing. Have a fantastic day, a beautiful week ahead. Be kind to yourself, kind to others around you. And until the next video, have an awesome rest of your week.